What is up, everyone? I'm Tanner. This is Nephi on Dualtone College Football. I'm White. He's not. You guys know the drill. Got a few games to break down today from last weekend. Not many to break down for this weekend. Only one team's playing. So
sorry we haven't been doing it.
Yeah, it's been a little hard with the holidays.
Yeah.
Busy time of year. But yeah,
at least we're
here
back
today.
now,
Yeah,
so.
we're here today. Alrighty. So to start out, Georgia versus Texas. Georgia on top once again, 22-19.
I kind of felt like this was Texas's game the whole time, but then like Quinn Ewers, he threw 3 picks, I think. They didn't use Arch Manning too much, because he was good against Texas Tech. They ran the ball very well, or not Texas Tech, Texas A&M. They ran the ball well against A&M and all that, and I'm just surprised they didn't use him more in this game against Georgia. But I feel like if they did, I don't know how much it would have changed, because I felt like Texas was moving the ball well in the air, but it was just too many mistakes by Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, and I mean, something you also have to think about, Georgia was getting insane pressure and just insane TFL numbers. Once again, they did it the first time they played as well. So that Georgia defensive front just kind of owns Texas's offensive front. I don't know the exact numbers on all the sacks and stuff, but it's a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for a single game. Obviously, Carson Beck got hurt at the end of the first half, but it was actually their backup QB, Gunnar Stockton, that ended up leading them to victory. So
yeah, Gunnar Stockton, he did enough. He did enough. I feel like him and Carson Beck were kind of similar, because Carson Beck's he can be good, but then I feel like a lot of the time he's been kind of mid throughout the season.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much he's
he's had a lot of turnover issues, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
And
the Georgia wide receivers, I feel like they drop a lot of balls. Yeah. I did see the stat when I was watching the game. They dropped, I think it was a 26 drop after one of the drops. They said it was a 26 drop, and it was the third most in the FBS so far.
Yeah, so that's Georgia, Texas. It was a pretty good game. I watched the very end. Gunnar Stockton just got rocked. Oh my goodness. Helmet comes flying off. You don't see that too often, but it was really fun to watch.
And then gutsy choice by Georgia to send Carson Beck back in. He didn't even use his.
No, he just had to hand the ball off, and ETN did the rest. All right, next up we got Iowa State versus Arizona State. Not a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
It was 45-19 for ASU.
What's it called? Cam Scadaboo. He went crazy in this game.
Yep, he's a monster. Yeah. He's a monster.
But then don't hit the Heisman pose, because you're not in the conversation.
Yeah, no, he's been hitting the Heisman pose even though he's not even relatively in the conversation.
Yeah.
But
and
whatever.
I get that.
You do you, I guess.
I get that Ashton Genty is a Mountain West running back, but he has almost, I feel like
he has almost double what Scadaboo has.
Yeah.
So.
Almost double what the second highest yards has.
He has 2 more yards per carry than Scadaboo does as well. He's at 7.3, I think.
So don't be hitting the pose right now, okay?
Yeah, but back to the game. Iowa State just made too many costly mistakes to win this game. They didn't deserve to win this game, so they didn't win this game. That's why they got blown out. They had fumbles, they had interceptions, just not a good game.
A lot of I feel like it was a lot of early mistakes that kind of just threw them off the rails.
I mean, Arizona State goes down and scores first drive, and then they do it again with just a field goal, though.
Yeah, it was just a field goal.
But Arizona State was, give them credit, really efficient as well. They capitalized on Iowa State's mistakes, but you just can't make those when you go to a conference title game.
Yeah. And I felt this was definitely a good game for Arizona State, especially going into the playoffs. It wasn't a close game or anything. Nothing. They weren't rattled. I feel like they're really confident right now in the playoffs.
Oh, they're very confident.
But I don't know how they'll be able to handle that, and if they can take that confidence.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, because most likely they play Texas in a few weeks, because it's Texas versus Clemson.
Yeah.
And then winner of that goes to play ASU. So chances are it's Texas, and we'll see how they match up there.
Yeah, surprisingly, people's been picking Clemson for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Whatever. All right, next up, Penn State, Oregon. This is another really good game.
Mm-hmm.
45-37 for Oregon. They pull it out. In their first year in the Big Ten, they win it.
Yeah, congrats on Oregon. Dylan Gabriel did really well. Their run game did really well against Penn State. Penn State's been solid on the run game all season, but Oregon was one of the only teams to exploit that. Um, and Penn State though, they did a lot better than I thought they would.
Offensively, they actually exploded for 37 points, which I was not expecting in this game.
Mm-hmm.
If Penn State was going to have a shot at winning the game, I would have thought that it would be very low scoring.
Yeah.
If you had told me that Penn State scored 37 points like the night before the matchup, I would have thought that Penn State won the game. But they didn't. They just decided to put up a lot of points this time.
Yeah, this was good for both teams going into the playoffs. I know Penn State lost, but I mean Penn State. I mean I don't want to say they got the better draw, but
They kind of
essentially
did, though.
did get the better draw than Oregon.
I mean, they play SMU first round,
Mm-hmm.
and if they win that, they go and play Boise. Which, with all due respect to Boise, you probably won't be able to run as well against Penn State.
Yeah.
So,
like I get you guys did very good against Oregon, but that was a different Oregon team.
yeah, that was an Oregon team that almost lost to an FCS team the week before. Yeah. So,
Idaho Vandals.
Yeah.
An old FBS foe now in the FBS now. Or FCS.
Yeah. Next up, Clemson versus SMU. 34-31 for Clemson. SMU almost storms back to win the game. They were down big to start out. I was working during this game, so I didn't have the opportunity to watch it. But I was kind of hearing updates and stuff, just like with the scores and stuff, and it was just kind of crazy to listen to.
It was a very crazy game. This honestly wasn't SMU's. They weren't playing their A game the whole time. At the end, they were on top of it, but at the beginning, it was not the same. It's not the same SMU team that's been playing all season. It was more so like the first half was like against Duke and BYU. The second half was like against Cal. Towards the end of the season when they beat Cal 38-9. Again, I think this was a very good game for both teams going into the playoffs because SMU, I know they're playing Penn State.
But they honestly have a real shot.
They have a real shot.
I feel like they could beat Penn State. I think Penn State will win, but like they definitely have a shot against Penn State. Whereas against a team like Texas, I'm not sure they would have much of a shot.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was a fun game, but for Clemson, they did well too. I mean,
yeah,
they were just
give Clemson credit, of course. They had to go down and score that field goal. Yep. So, congrats to Clemson. There's going to be calls for changes of the format after this, though, because Clemson's in over a lot of other teams that are probably a lot better with the same record with a much better strength of schedule.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a formatting issue, in my opinion.
We will talk about that when we do get into our playoff discussion, and I will tell you guys about how the playoffs would be if it was no tie-ins and
no auto bids,
and it was just straight top 12 teams.
Yep. All right, next up, Boise UNLV. This is a snooze fest, 21-17.
Yeah.
Or sorry, 21-7, not 17. Boise kind of jumped ahead to start, and then nothing really happened after that.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes were also made by UNLV too. They weren't capitalizing on their huge not pick six, but pick
80
the 5-yard line. Yeah, pick 80. But I mean, ultimately, you have to give Boise credit. They did what they needed to do to win the game. It could have been a lot closer if UNLV did what they needed to do and just got points on the board instead of going for it on a fourth down.
Yeah, I mean, if they score there, what would have the score been at that point?
At that point, since they wouldn't have need to go for it on a fourth down at the middle of the fourth quarter, it would have been 13-21.
Yeah.
And UNLV's defense has been solid. They're one of the only ones that's been giving Boise problems, defensive or giving Boise problems. Yeah, on the defensive side.
But yeah, so those are the games we're breaking down from last week. And now we're going to preview Army and Navy. It's Army-Navy week, everyone. It's that time of year.
Yep.
One's pretty significantly better than the other, probably, but they're both pretty good this year. So,
and it's a rivalry game again. So,
yep.
The thing is, I don't know why they play after conference championship week because it doesn't make sense to me. Because now that they're both in the same conference, I'm like, this is a conference game.
Probably just to keep things in, or I guess make it so it's its own special things that everyone wants to watch. Because I don't know how many people would be watching that game if you got like A&M versus Texas on, or Bama Auburn. Yeah, so
that's true. The thing is, just it doesn't help them because also the playoffs is already decided too. That's the only bad thing about it. But
that's also true.
They just
Army wasn't making the playoff anyways, but
they almost had a shot.
They did have a shot if Boise had lost. But.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting into it though, they're very similar teams, both heavy ground games. Army turns it over significantly less than Navy does. Both kind of got killed by Notre Dame though.
Yeah.
I don't know how they fared against like the same opponents other than Notre Dame. Unfortunately, I don't pay as much attention to the G5 ranks, but
I don't really pay attention to Army Navy specifically. Like I like to watch them from time to time because I do love myself a good ground game team. But just because they're so one dimensional, because they're only doing the triple option all the time, they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna do very well against the big teams.
Yeah, I mean, you set yourself a much lower ceiling when everyone knows exactly what you're gonna do.
Exactly.
Every single time. So
that's kind of hard. But the fun thing about this matchup is you guys always have great uniforms. This is a beautiful
great uniform matchup.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Army's gonna win. I don't know what the line is, but they'll probably cover too because I just think Bryson Daly's that good.
Yeah.
But we never know. That's my very uneducated guess as well because I don't know a lot about either of these teams.
Army, they do a lot better in their play calling. They do a lot better in their play calling compared to Navy. So that's why I would pick Navy to win, or not Navy, Army to win in this one. I get it, or I know, like I said, it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. Just Army, they look better. They look like a solid team. I would pick Army.
Cool. All right, and then we have other bowl games to get to as well, just to make picks on real quick.
Yeah.
Which ones?
I know this is gonna be
Western Kentucky. James Madison's one.
Yeah. UNLV Cal.
Yeah, UNLV Cal's one.
Memphis.
West Virginia. Memphis. Yep.
And then this week we have. I'm gonna be very unprofessional right now because I need to see.
Pull out your phone.
Yeah. Hold on. This week's game is gonna be South Alabama versus Western Michigan. So that's the kickoff to bowl season.
Cool. What's your pick in that one?
In this one, I like South Alabama more. I get that they're favored in this game, but they did have a pretty hot ending to the season. Their last 6 games, they were 4-2. So that was really good to see. And then they kept it close against some of the other teams, which I feel like it always happens in G5. South Alabama's my pick.
I'm gonna roll with South Alabama too because that's the more recognizable name to me. Guys, I don't know a lot about these teams. I'm sorry. These are mostly just random guesses. What my gut tells me. My gut tells me South Alabama.
Yeah, and Western Michigan didn't end the season very hot. They did get they barely pulled out an Eastern Michigan win to get bowl eligible, but before that they were on a 3-game losing streak.
Okay.
So they weren't doing too hot.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with South Alabama.
Okay, Memphis and West Virginia.
This one I do know things about, mostly because I know stuff about West Virginia. I'm picking West Virginia to win.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I'm picking Memphis. West Virginia has transfers already. They lost their coach.
Yeah, Neil Brown.
And Memphis is coming off of a hot win against Tulane. And they looked really good. I really like how Memphis plays. They're a very good, very sound football team. I think honestly, if they wanted to be in the playoffs, they probably could if they just made 1 or 2 more plays in the games that they lost.
You know what? I'm going to change course actually because I forgot about the portal opening and
Yeah.
players jumping ship. Obviously, people are going to jump ship with their head coach getting fired. So never mind. I'm going to pick Memphis to win.
Okay.
Memphis will win because they're probably going to have more players that play. Since West Virginia got a head coach fired, they have people transferring. They're going to probably have people sit out for the bowl game as well, which unfortunately just happens in the sport nowadays. So, yeah, I'm going to go Memphis.
Yeah, unfortunately. Too bad. But it's also a beautiful thing about the sport now is the transfer portal is, like take Arizona State for example, they were able to build a team within 2 years and they picked up players from the transfer portal.
Yeah, they're not really a thing this year if it's not for the transfer portal.
Exactly. So a lot of teams, I feel like that's with a lot of teams is they're not what they are this year without the transfer portal.
Yep.
But yeah,
that's very true.
Now we have James Madison and Western Kentucky.
My gut tells me Western Kentucky. That's all I can tell you.
I like Western Kentucky too. They're very pass heavy. They've produced record-breaking quarterbacks in the past. I forgot his name, but he plays for the Patriots. He's not starting anymore. Do you know anything about that?
Bailey Zappi, or is that Bailey Zappi?
Bailey Zappi. He played for Western Kentucky. He did amazing there. And so I think they just have a tradition of having really pass heavy and really good quarterbacks. So I would pick Western Kentucky in that game.
BYU played Western Kentucky a few years back. That's about all I know about them. Oh, and they played Alabama this year.
Oh yeah, they did.
Got killed.
Yeah, of course. That's Alabama.
BYU killed them in 2020. Just saying.
Okay.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. But
yeah, good
I'll pick West Kentucky for this one.
Brother might transfer over to.
Isaac
BYU
Wilson
now,
being looked at by BYU. Keep your eyes out, folks.
We
might have another Wilson come through. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but
it'll be fun.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Last game, Cal and UNLV.
UNLV is gonna win.
UNLV.
UNLV.
I'm having a tough time because UNLV just lost their head coach, but no. He's staying. He's staying for the bowl game, so I will pick UNLV. It'll be a close game though, because Cal, if they won all their games that they lost by one possession, they would be undefeated right now. They would be undefeated, which I feel bad for them, but at the same time,
didn't they get boat raced by SMU?
Huh?
Didn't Cal get killed by SMU?
I don't think so. Oh no, the very last game of the season, yeah, they got destroyed by SMU. But I mean, other than that, if they won if they won the rest,
they had
of
a lot
games,
of close games. Like they almost beat Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about that game, but that was forever ago, so I'm not gonna talk about it.
Yeah, that was ages ago.
Yeah. But yeah, UNLV. So that's it for the bowl games for this week, and then next week we'll talk about some of the other bowl games and the playoffs, which is also next week.
All right. Yeah. Next up, we'll talk about a little bit about the playoffs. We won't go too much into depth.
Yeah.
But first round matchups, we got Texas versus Clemson. We got SMU versus Penn State. We got Tennessee versus Ohio State, which is my personal favorite matchup. I think that's going to be a really fun one. And then Notre Dame versus Indiana. Is that all of them?
Yep, that's all of them.
Yeah. So those are all going to be really fun games because Indiana, first of all, we'll get a real look at if they're actually legit again.
Yeah.
Ohio State could have been a fluke. I don't think it was. It's also hard to know, though, with Notre Dame because I don't know if they're a fluke or not. I mean, obviously, they've been killing teams left and right ever since their loss to Northern Illinois. It's just still hard to know because they haven't exactly played the most legit Murder's Row schedule either. So
yeah. But I think after that loss, they are definitely fueled for this game, for all playoffs.
They'll be ready for sure.
Because I mean, what team doesn't like to be underdogs?
Yeah.
Because that's what I've been hearing from people. Is like Clemson, for example. That's why people are picking Clemson, is because they play their best as an underdog. Which I mean, I don't agree that they're gonna beat Texas, But
Were they a dog against South Carolina?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so. But I mean, I don't agree that they'll beat Texas. But I mean, anything can happen.
Anything can happen, but I do think Texas ends up pulling that one out.
Yeah.
I think Penn State will beat SMU probably pretty comfortably, is my guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
Let's not reveal our picks just
yeah, okay, fair enough.
yet.
But yeah, definitely that matchup I'm most interested in is Tennessee Ohio State. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a really fun one.
That's gonna be good. It's gonna be a lot of pressure on Ryan Day.
And Nico Iamaliava is a true freshman going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be
Oh
crazy.
no. He's a redshirt freshman.
Is he a redshirt freshman? Okay,
Yeah.
never mind then.
Because last year he played in the bowl game, which he went crazy on. I think he threw 5 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
Still, that's crazy.
I know. They have their future set
Yeah, no kidding.
for the next 4 years. So beautiful thing.
Yeah,
for
probably
Tennessee.
next 3 if he's legit.
Next
He'll
3.
probably go to the draft. But
Yeah, maybe even shorter.
another sad thing about college football these days, you only get your really good players for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before they decide to enter the draft. But
well, it's a new era of college football teams. I feel like a lot of players are just not as committed to the program. They're just more so wanting to go to the NFL.
Yep.
Because that's what it used to be. It's like they were like committed to the program, like they wanted to do it not for themselves. It was more so because
competitive energy.
Yep. And it's like the brotherhood too in that team. That's why like you didn't see any players like opting out in like 2012, 13, 14 or anything like that. You didn't even hear that until nowadays. Which is sad, but it's the nature of changing college football, and it's what's gonna happen if you're gonna wanting to make it better, supposedly.
But you guys, BYU is a team that's not like that. Let me tell you. Usually, we'll have guys come back just because they want to do a better season. Last year was a perfect example of that. Like Tyler Batty, he easily could have left the team because he was like a fifth-year senior, I think, or something like that. But he came back. Isaiah Banya was a similar situation.
Yeah.
Chase Roberts this year, we'll see what he does. There's a chance he comes back. Darius Lassiter can't come back, sadly. But
yeah,
I think you will see a lot of members of BYU's team that could leave but choose to come back just because they feel like they have unfinished business. And that's part of why I love the good old Y, because I feel like a lot of the time they are more traditional with things and like it's very brotherhood. I mean, if you've paid attention at all, like we've only had a few players jump into the portal.
Yeah.
And
so far
they're not our starters.
Exactly. Except the only big one was that strong safety.
Yeah, Crew Wakely. I don't know why.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I understand sometimes people just need to leave. People do what suits them best. But I also appreciate it when guys stay. So
yeah, that's why I like the BYU Colorado matchup. I know BYU fans and Colorado fans might not be happy with that, but they're both similar in culture wise. Because Deion Sanders, he told his players like, you're gonna play in this bowl game because you're brothers, and they all agreed with him. And even Travis Hunter and him said that they're not gonna opt out of the bowl game, or that he's not gonna opt out of the bowl game even if he wins the Heisman, just because they're playing for honor too, So
it's competitive spirit.
Out? Yeah, and I kind of feel like that with my Hawaii team. Is our thing is we call it the brotherhood, we're a band of brothers. We stick together, I feel like that's a lot of it for BYU, Hawaii, Colorado, and hopefully more teams, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I tell you what, though, keep an eye out for BYU, because if they continue on this trend with the portal, where they don't lose much, but they're able to bring in stuff, they're going to be dangerous again next year. Because if they can manage to not lose much in the portal, which we did last year, we lost little to none in the portal. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next year.
And I think with BYU basketball picking up
AJ DeBonsta,
I think that's also big for BYU football too.
It shows that the program's not a joke, and that we'll go after the big recruits. Yeah,
and they have and BYU has the materials to keep them there too. That's why I think BYU basketball is also helping BYU football, because even though BYU basketball has a ton more NIL opportunity than BYU's football team, it just shows a lot of the big recruits like, hey, look at this.
We take our sports seriously.
Yeah, they take their sports seriously, and look at this. They're the number one basketball recruit in the nation went to BYU. There must be a good reason why he's there.
Yep.
You know.
Yep, and he chose BYU over the likes of like Kansas and North Carolina. So,
yeah, a lot of the big basketball powerhouse.
Yep. And so, yeah, BYU won a crazy recruiting battle there. There will be a lot of battles coming up in the class of 26. I know that we're going after a lot of different highly touted recruits in football. So we'll see what happens. The class of 26 could be a game-changing class for BYU just because of all the LDS talent that's around 4 and 5 stars.
Yeah, for real. And like also with like some of these LDS players is some teams are not going to want to recruit them because they're like, hey, we're going to go on our 2-year mission. And they're going to be like, oh, we want you right now, so we're not going to give you anything. Because when the BYU, they understand, like, hey,
since we're a religious university.
Exactly. And yeah, like they get that these players are going to go on missions and everything. So they're like, okay, we'll offer you a scholarship and everything. Just go on your mission, come back, and do what you need to do.
Yep.
Once you get on the field, you know.
Yep. But yeah, class of 26 for BYU has a lot of potential, a lot of it.
Hopefully, I mean, this year is definitely a big booster for that.
Oh yeah, this year helps a lot. Yeah. Because lately people are starting to commit to their programs earlier and earlier. So what happened this year was almost more important for the class of 26 than it was for the class of 25.
Yeah.
Last year was what kind of hurt our class of 25, I think. Just some of our earlier on recruiting efforts there.
Yeah.
We still have a pretty decent class so far. We have till the later signing window to get it even better. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, so hopefully this season can swing some of those recruits over to BYU. But yeah. And then since we talked a lot about BYU recruiting, I'll talk a lot about Hawaii recruiting. We're not a big school. We're not big when it comes to recruiting, but we pick up the players we need to pick up. And we like picking up the smaller players. Like we pick up the 2 stars and the 3 stars. Like before, when we were like really good in 2007, and beyond that, we could pick up 4 stars pretty often. But now that we're not doing as well as we used to do, now we're like 5 and 7. But we have like a lot of hope there and everything. I'm excited for our recruiting class. I know if you go and look at it, it doesn't look very impressive or anything, but we are able to like find the gems. I feel like in the high school talent. Yeah. We find the diamonds in the rough, you know.
Well, look, BYU's very similar from their past years. I know in 2020 we had like 5 players above 3 stars from the class of 2019 or something like that. Like we didn't recruit high level at all, but our coaches are really, really good at developing that talent and finding the gems, as you said, like the people that have more potential and what their rating would show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes the programs just have to figure that out, and that's how they stay competitive.
Exactly. That's the fun part about cheering for the smaller schools too, is, you know, like it doesn't look very impressive on paper, but like when you like look closer into the program and you like see how well those coaches are building those athletes and like they're becoming, like if they transferred out of that after like an amazing season, becoming like a 4 and 5 star transfer, like I don't know, I just think it's a beautiful thing to see, you know.
Yeah.
It's very it's fun.
I like it. It's fun to watch guys get developed.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for our show, right?
Oh, also just a little mention. A lot's happening in the in what's it called? Realignment, Northern Illinois. They might move over to the Mountain West.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I know, it's like a huge change.
Yeah.
You have Illinois, Northern Illinois, and then you have the Mountain West all over here. So they're going to be flying a lot, but it's what happens in sports now.
Yep.
And
everyone flies everywhere.
Yeah. You guys are helping.
I think Cal traveled around the entire distance of the globe. So did UCLA, I think. So
yeah, they did.
Yep.
It's crazy. That's what also Hawaii has to do. That's why we get a 13th game, is so then we can get our get the funds for both teams back up at even or even better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the fun part. And then also Marshall, they're a really good team, 10-3. They lost their head coach because they didn't renew the contract, and now their whole team is in the transfer portal
So just
before the bowl game.
everyone's headed out.
Yeah, everyone's
Mass
headed out.
exodus.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well just stay for the bowl game.
Nope, they're doing it before the bowl game.
You might as well just play your bowl game, man. That's all I'm saying.
They want to make a statement to the Marshall athletic facilities.
Yeah, that's
and all
definitely
that.
on them for not extending an incredible head coach.
Yeah, like I love Charles Huff. He's a great coach at Marshall. He's been doing well season after season.
Where did he get hired?
Huh?
Where did he get hired?
At Southern Miss.
Southern Miss, that's right.
So Southern Miss, good luck.
Be happy.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry, be happy.
Alrighty. Well, I think that wraps it up then.
Yep, that wraps it up.
All right, that's all from us. Dualtone College Football. I'm White. He's not. We'll see you guys later.
For next week, last episode.